Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine while pumping gas late at night? The flickering fluorescent lights, the empty parking lot, the strange silence. It's the perfect setting for something unsettling. Gas stations are temporary stops for most of us, but for some, they become the backdrop for experiences they'll never forget. These aren't tales from a horror movie, they're real events that happen to ordinary people just like you and me. So lock your doors, turn up the volume, and prepare to hear why you should always stay aware of your surroundings, especially when you're alone at the pump. Our first story comes from a user named Chloe, who was working the graveyard shift at a 24-hour gas station in a quiet rural town. The kind of place where nothing ever happens. Usually, her nights were filled with stocking shelves, cleaning, and occasionally helping a sleepy trucker. He just sat there, engine off, staring at the store. Chloe felt a knot form in her stomach. She tried to ignore it, telling herself he probably just fell asleep. She busied herself with her tasks, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Chloe's heart was pounding. She grabbed the phone, ready to call the police, but hesitated. What would she say? A man is looking at the store. He hadn't done anything illegal. He eventually stopped at the front door, his face just inches from the glass. His eyes were wide and unblinking. It was the most terrifying thing Chloe had ever seen. She locked herself in the back office, her hands shaking as she dialed 911. By the time the police arrived, the man and his car were gone. Chloe quit her job the next day and never worked a night shift again. This next story takes us to a busy highway rest stop. It was shared by a truck driver named Rick. Rick had been driving for over 20 years and thought he'd seen it all. One night, he pulled into a massive, brightly lit gas station to refuel and grab a coffee. It was a normal, everyday scene. Rick finished fueling, went inside, got his coffee, and came back out. The minivan was still there, but now the driver's side door was wide open and the mother was gone. The toddler was still in the back, but now screaming hysterically. Rick felt a sense of dread. He looked around, but the parking lot was huge and filled with trucks. The mother was nowhere in sight. He was about to approach the van when the father came running out of the store, a look of pure panic on his face. He'd only been inside for 5 minutes. They both looked in the van, hoping she was just hiding, playing a game. The side door slid open and someone pulled the mother inside. It happened in less than 10 seconds. Rick said he stayed for hours, giving his statement to the police, the toddler's cries echoing in his memory. He never found out what happened to that woman. It was a chilling reminder of how quickly a life can be turned upside down, even in the most mundane of places. It was late, around midnight, and she was getting low on gas. Finally, she saw a single, flickering sign for a gas station ahead. It looked old and barely operational, but she had no other choice. She pulled in. The place was deserted except for one other car, a rusty old pickup truck parked by the air pump. As Jenna got out to swipe her card, the driver of the truck, an older man with a long gray beard, got out and started walking towards her. He had a friendly smile and asked if she needed help. Little too close, his smile never wavering. The man was still standing there, watching her go, but he wasn't smiling anymore. About 10 miles down the road, her tire pressure light came on. She had to pull over on the dark, empty highway. Just enough to cause a slow leak, ensuring she wouldn't get very far. That feeling of unease at a deserted gas station might be more than just your imagination. It's a primal instinct telling you to be cautious. Always trust your gut. If a situation feels wrong, it probably is. Don't hesitate to leave, even if it seems rude. Your safety is what matters most. If you have a scary story you'd like to share, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Ever feel that strange, unsettling vibe at a deserted gas station late at night? The flickering fluorescent lights, the empty pumps, the strange silence. It's a perfect setting for something to go wrong. Well, tonight, we're diving into some chilling true stories that prove that feeling isn't always just your imagination. These aren't campfire tales. These are real events that happen to real people just trying to fill up their tanks. So lock your doors, check your mirrors, and let's get into it. Our first story comes from a long-haul trucker named Mark. He'd been driving for over 18 hours straight, his eyes heavy and his mind foggy. He pulled into a dimly lit 24-hour gas station somewhere in the vast emptiness of the Arizona desert. It was around 3 a.m., and the only other soul in sight was the cashier, a young kid who looked barely out of high school, engrossed in his phone. Mark filled up his rig, the only sound being the hum of the pump and the distant howl of the wind. As he went inside to pay, he noticed a beat-up sedan parked far from the pumps, almost hidden in the shadows. The engine was off, but he could just make out a figure in the driver's seat. He didn't think much of it, paid for his gas and a coffee, and headed back to his truck. As he climbed into his cab, he glanced at his side mirror. The sedan's headlights flashed on just for a second, then off again. A shiver went down his spine. It was probably nothing, he told himself, just a coincidence. He started his engine and prepared to pull out. Then, the sedan's lights flashed again, this time twice. Mark's heart started to pound. This was no coincidence. He decided to wait a minute, pretending to check his logs. The sedan just sat there, silent and dark. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mark pulled out onto the highway. He kept his eyes glued to his mirrors. For the first few miles, nothing. He started to relax. Then, he saw them. Headlights gaining on him fast. It was the same sedan. The car tailed him for miles, sometimes getting dangerously close to his rear bumper, then falling back. Mark's mind raced. What did they want? Was this a robbery attempt? He tried calling 911, but there was no signal out here. The sedan pulled up alongside him, and Mark saw two men inside, their faces obscured by the darkness. One of them rolled down the window and gestured for him to pull over. Mark shook his head and sped up. For the next hour, it was a terrifying cat-and-mouse game on a deserted highway. Every time a car approached from the other direction, the sedan would fall back, only to reappear as soon as the coast was clear. Finally, Mark saw the welcoming glow of a well-lit truck stop up ahead. He floored it, the sedan still hot on his tail. He swerved into the crowded parking lot, blaring his horn. The sedan hesitated at the entrance for a moment, then sped off into the night. Mark never found out who they were or what they wanted, but he never stopped at a deserted gas station in the middle of the night again. This next story is from a college student named Jenna, who was driving home for the holidays. It was late, snowing heavily, and she was running on fumes. She reluctantly pulled into a small, independent gas station that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. An open sign buzzed weakly in the window. As she got out to pump her gas, she noticed a man standing by the air pump, just staring at her. He was tall, gaunt, and wore a thin jacket despite the freezing cold. He didn't say anything, just watched her every move with an unnerving intensity. Jenna's stomach tightened. She tried to ignore him, fumbling with the gas cap, her hands shaking. She finished as quickly as she could and hurried inside to pay. The cashier, an older woman with a tired face, barely looked up. "Just the gas," she mumbled. "Yes, and there's a man outside," Jenna whispered. "He's just staring at me." The cashier's eyes flickered towards the window. Her expression didn't change, but she spoke a little louder. "That'll be $45.50. As Jenna handed over her card, the cashier subtly slid a piece of paper towards her. On it was scribbled, "The back door is unlocked. Go now. Don't look back." A wave of pure terror washed over Jenna. She grabbed the note, nodded slightly, and walked towards the restrooms at the back of the store, her heart hammering against her ribs. She didn't dare look to see if the man was still there. She found the back door, pushed it open, and ran. She didn't stop running until she burst out of the trees behind the station and onto a different, slightly busier road. She flagged down a passing car, a family who was shocked to see a frantic girl in the middle of a snowstorm. They called the police. When the officers arrived at the gas station, the man was gone. The cashier told them that the man was a local drifter who had been harassing customers for weeks. But what she told them next made Jenna's blood run cold. She said that just before Jenna came in, she saw the man tampering with the rear passenger side tire of Jenna's car. Had she not been warned, Jenna would have driven off, only to have a blowout on a dark, empty, snow-covered road, with that man likely following close behind. Our final account comes from a group of friends on a road trip. They were driving through rural Pennsylvania late one night when their GPS took them on a strange detour. Lost and low on gas, they were relieved to spot an old gas station. But as they pulled in, the relief vanished. The place was eerily silent. No cars, no people, just one working pump under a buzzing light. A hand-painted sign said, "Pay inside." One of them, Alex, went into the small convenience store. The air inside was thick and stale. The shelves were mostly empty, covered in a layer of dust. Behind the counter stood a man with a completely blank expression. "Fill up?" the man asked, his voice flat and monotone. Alex nodded, feeling a growing sense of dread. He paid in cash and walked back outside, urging his friends to hurry. As his friend finished pumping the gas, they heard a noise from the garage attached to the station. It sounded like metal scraping on concrete. A light flickered on inside the garage, and through the grimy window, they saw something that made them freeze. There were several large metal drums lined up against the wall, and the man from the counter was standing over one of them, holding what looked like a long, sharp tool. He wasn't cleaning or working. He was just standing there, staring down into the drum. A feeling of absolute panic set in. They didn't need to see any more. They jumped back in the car, screeched out of the gas station, and didn't slow down for 100 miles. They can't prove anything sinister was happening. But the image of that man, the empty store, and the strange scene in the garage has haunted them ever since. What was in those drums? They're glad they didn't stick around to find out. These stories are a chilling reminder that sometimes the most ordinary places can hold the darkest secrets. The world is full of unexplained encounters and moments where instinct tells us something is deeply wrong. So, next time you're at a gas station late at night, remember these stories. Stay aware, trust your gut, and most importantly, stay safe. Thanks for watching, and if you have a scary story of your own, share it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true horror stories. See you next time. Picture this. It's late, the highway is nearly empty, and your gas light starts blinking. That familiar knot of dread tightens in your stomach. You pull into the next gas station you see, a lone island of harsh fluorescent light in a sea of darkness. The place is deserted, except for a single car parked by the air pump and the tired-looking cashier visible through the smudged glass of the convenience store. You get out, the cold night air biting at your skin. As you start pumping gas, you glance over at the other car. There's a woman in the driver's seat, just staring straight ahead. Something feels off. The silence of the place is heavy, broken only by the hum of the pump and the distant drone of the highway. You try to ignore the unease creeping up your spine, telling yourself you're just tired, maybe a little spooked by the late hour. You finish up, pay at the pump, and get back in your car. Just as you're about to pull away, the other car's headlights flash on, blinding you for a second. Your heart jumps. You squint, trying to see what's happening. The car doesn't move. The woman is still just sitting there. A million scary movie scenarios flood your mind. You take a deep breath, lock your doors, decide it's time to go. Now, as you merge back onto the highway, you check your rearview mirror. The other car is pulling out too, its headlights a pair of accusing eyes in the darkness. Coincidence, you tell yourself. They were probably just leaving too. But a few miles down the road, they're still there. They're not just behind you, they're matching your speed. When you speed up, they speed up. When you slow down, they slow down. This isn't a coincidence anymore. The knot in your stomach is now a cold, hard lump of fear. Every horror story you've ever heard, every warning about late-night travel, it's all screaming in your head. The highway is still mostly empty. There's nowhere to turn off, no one to signal for help. It's just you, the endless road, and the car that's hunting you. You fish your phone out of your pocket with a shaking hand, keeping one eye on the road and one on the mirror. You need to call for help. You dial 911, your thumbs fumbling on the screen. The dispatcher's voice is calm, a stark contrast to the panic clawing at your throat. You try to explain, your voice cracking, telling them about the gas station, the car, the relentless pursuit. They ask for your location, for a description of the car. You relay what you can, but your mind is racing. What do they want? Why are they following you? The dispatcher tells you to keep driving, to not stop under any circumstances, and to stay on the line. They're sending units to your location. Help is coming, but the minutes feel like hours. The car behind you gets closer, so close you can see the silhouette of the driver. It's not just the woman anymore. There's someone else in the passenger seat. They pull up alongside you. You instinctively flinch away, your knuckles white on the steering wheel. You refuse to look over, focusing on the road ahead, on the dispatcher's voice in your ear. Suddenly, their car swerves aggressively towards yours, forcing you to jerk the wheel to avoid a collision. Your car fishtails on the asphalt, the screech of tires echoing in the night. The dispatcher is asking if you're okay, but all you can hear is the pounding of your own heart. They fall back again, content to just tail you, playing a terrifying game of cat and mouse. Then, in the distance, you see them, flashing blue and red lights. A wave of relief so powerful, it almost makes you dizzy washes over you. You've never been so happy to see police lights in your entire life. The car behind you seems to notice them at the same time. They slam on their brakes, make a wild U-turn across the median, and speed off in the opposite direction. A patrol car pulls up behind you, another one racing past in pursuit of the other vehicle. You pull over to the shoulder, your body trembling uncontrollably. A police officer approaches your window, his face a mixture of concern and authority. He gently asks you to explain what happened. As you recount the story, from the eerie gas station to the terrifying chase, another officer comes over. They caught them. They stopped the car a few miles back. The officer looks at you, his expression grim. "You're very lucky," he says. "We found something in their trunk, something that tells us they were not just trying to scare you." He explains that they found ropes, duct tape, and other restraints in the back of the car. The couple had a history of similar incidents, preying on lone drivers at isolated gas stations. Your blood runs cold. The what-ifs are suffocating. What if you hadn't noticed them? What if you hadn't called 911 when you did? Sitting there on the side of the highway, the flashing lights painting the scene in surreal colors. You realize how close you came to becoming another statistic, another headline about a driver who vanished without a trace. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't your imagination. It was real. This story is a chilling reminder to always trust your gut. That feeling of unease, that sense that something is wrong, is your brain's alarm system. Don't ignore it. don't dismiss it as paranoia. At that gas station, the quiet, the staring, the sudden flash of headlights, they were all warning signs. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, don't hesitate. Lock your doors. Drive to a well-lit public place and call for help immediately. Don't engage, don't stop, and don't assume it's nothing. Your safety is more important than being polite or worrying about overreacting. This isn't just a scary story to tell around a campfire. It's a real-life lesson in situational awareness. Pay attention to your surroundings, especially when you're vulnerable, like at a gas station late at night. Notice the people, the cars, the atmosphere. A few seconds of observation can make all the difference. That night on the highway could have ended very differently. It's a terrifying thought, but it's also a powerful one. It teaches us to be vigilant, to be prepared, and to never, ever underestimate that little voice inside that says something isn't right. It might just save your life. Thank you for watching. Remember to stay safe out there, and if you have a story you'd like to share, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true scary stories. We'll see you in the next one.